Welcome to radicalwellnesstv.com. This is Charles Varney, and he's explaining to us about the Coalition to Protect San Luis County. Hey Charles, can you explain to us what that is?
Sure. The Coalition to Protect San Luis Obispo County was formed actually fairly recently, but out of a long history of activism in the county, and formed specifically to create and qualify and pass an initiative to ban new oil wells in San Luis Obispo County. And as a consequence of banning those new wells and new oil production, protecting our really precious and scarce water supplies here in the county, especially our groundwater, and also to prevent fracking from occurring in San Luis Obispo County. We have a vulnerability to both of those. There's a 100-year-old oil production facility here in the county in Price Canyon, just a couple of miles west of Pismo Beach, which everybody driving north of Santa Barbara on 101 goes through Pismo Beach. We have a huge tourist economy here in our coast in San Luis Obispo. And the Price Canyon oil field has been up there for really forever. In fact, the word Pismo is derived from the Chumash word for tar and oil, because there's these natural seeps. So it's been, exploited for many decades, and there's still oil there, and they get it out with a technique that uses steam. And they inject the steam underground. The oil's not that far underground, within a couple hundred to 400 feet, and they melt this very heavy, really dirty crude oil, tar sand oil, wetted enough that they can pump it up. And that's been going on for a long time. There's issues. The issue with that is that they take their wastewater, this concentrated petroleum, chemically laced wastewater, and inject it underground, and that's how they get rid of a large amount of it. So they want to expand that oil field by 481 new wells, and they're waiting to get a permit to do that. And so that's one reason we have this initiative, to prevent that expansion, because we're very worried about that expansion and the additional water they'll be injecting underground and the pollution of our groundwater supplies here that we need to drink, to grow crops, to serve tourists in restaurants, to live. And then secondly, most of San Luis Obispo, like a whole lot of California, overlies the Monterey Shale Formation, which has a lot of oil in it, and it's vulnerable to fracking. It's not easily fracked, but when the market forces reach a certain point, then it does make economic sense to start fracking. We have fracking in our neighboring counties, and Kern County is full of fracking going on right now. We have no fracking in San Luis Obispo County, which is a good thing, because we want to prevent it. We don't ever want fracking to come here. We have hundreds of, thousands of square miles of vineyards, grasslands, oak woodlands that potentially could all be vulnerable to fracking. So the coalition, I said it, we're relatively new. We formed up in August of last year for the specific purpose of qualifying an initiative. And I'll just, as a footnote, say that we just completed stage 2 of that process, which was collecting enough valid signatures of registered voters in the county to qualify it for the November election. And we just, on May 1st, turned in 20,473 signatures of registered voters in California, in San Luis Obispo County. This is a local initiative of our local residents who signed the initiative petition to get this on the ballot. So we were just kind of blown away at, you know, the response that we got from people. We were pretty assured that we would get enough signatures to get it on the ballot, but we have almost 3 times as many signatures as we need. So we're going into now the campaign phase really strong, and we know that we're going to need to be strong because big oil is going to hit us really heavy with multi-millions of dollars in ads and exaggerations, distortions, and lies if they act in any way like they did up in Monterey County, where they fought a similar initiative.
So what is that? How does it affect jobs? Is that why people would want fracking? Who would want fracking?
Well, you know, I think that, yeah, as if the oil industry was expanding in the county, it would create some new jobs. Typically in oil field production, there are temporary jobs in drilling wells and getting them set up. And those, you know, those jobs, the general term for those oil workers are roustabouts. And they typically don't live around here. They kind of travel around. I mean, they're guys in their 20s and their 30s. They work a hard, rough, dangerous job. They make good money. But it's not the kind of job where you're always drilling wells all the time. Maybe there are some places where that's going on, and certainly there are in the United States. But the very important thing about our initiative is that it only bans new oil wells. It doesn't impact at all the Price Canyon oil field, which has been operating, like I said, for decades. They continue to produce around 1,500 barrels of oil a day. It's sent to the Phillips 66 refinery, which is just a couple of miles south of my house here, where it's refined. It's a first stage refinery, and then it's sent by pipeline up to the East Bay, where it gets more refinement and then turned into typical diesel fuels and stuff that largely is for export to Asia and India. So our initiative, when it gets passed, is not going to impact employment in the oil extraction, oil field industry at all in terms of the existing stuff that's going on here in the county. And that is true. We don't want new oil development here, so there won't be new oil jobs, you know, here. However, I mean, if you want to work in an oil field, you can go and live in Taft or Maricopa or Bakersfield or East Texas or Oklahoma, or, you know, there's lots of places you can go and get a job in oil. It's just that we don't see oil as the future of San Luis Obispo. We see renewable solar, wind-generated kinds of energy as the future of our county, and that's where we want to go. And we want to protect our water resources, and we want to reduce the amount of CO2 that's going into the atmosphere, and we want to try and reduce the severity of global climate change. The little part that we can do in our county, the little piece of the earth that we control, we want to manage it, we want to nurture it, we want to treat it in the best way that we can to do what we can here in our county to make the world a better place.
So how do you anticipate the campaign to look like compared to the $1 million that are going to be thrown at you wanting to have it go through?
Mm-hmm.
How can we help?
Okay, well, you know, there's lots of ways that people can help, and this really is a people's campaign. We're grassroots. There is no paid employees in the Coalition to Protect San Luis Obispo County. We're all volunteers. We had a volunteer group of over 300 people that circulated the initiative. People in San Luis Obispo County just, you know, got tired of seeing us out in front of stores, you know, saying, hey, would you help us, you know, protect our water resources and sign an initiative, sign our petition to get an initiative on the ballot. And then we had another whole bunch of people that just had a petition and were just going around to their church group or their bridge club or their family and their friends and getting signatures. And if that was the way that we really gave the opportunity to people in San Luis Obispo County to sign the initiative, because we know there's thousands of more people out there that we never ever had a chance to encounter that were ready to sign the initiative. So how are we gonna do our campaign? Well, I'm just going to give out really the deep secrets that we haven't let anybody know yet, Laura, for an exclusive for you on this interview that you're doing. It's going to be a grassroots movement, and we're basically going to engage in a widespread public education and public lobbying effort to let people see the facts. We are science-based. We're fact-based. We are very transparent. We have a ton of information on our website, which, by the way, is protectslocounty.org. And people can go there. Anybody can go there. The oil companies can go there, and they can look at our sources. They can look at our research. And I don't mean ours that we've necessarily done, but we have science-based research there about fracking, about the threats to our groundwater from an expansion of the Arroyo Grande oil field. We have documents from California state and federal agencies about the Arroyo Grande oil field. So we want to give people information that they can then use to make their own decisions about. Ways we're going to do that is we plan to have educational forums, town hall meetings, debates in every part of the county, maybe, hopefully maybe at least 2 times in every part of the county, maybe 3 times. And so that'll just be part of our grassroots movement. We'll invite everybody, anybody can come, they can ask questions. We'll give the best answers that we have, and if we don't have the best answers, we'll find the best answers. And we welcome, we're going to invite Sentinel Peak Resources, which is the company that owns the Arroyo Grande oil field. Come on up on stage with us. Let's debate this. Or so that'll be one mechanism. Another dimension that we're going to use is we'll be going to every city council in the county. Local residents, local people in Paso Robles, in Atascadero, in Arroyo Grande, in Pismo Beach, in Grover Beach, in San Luis Obispo, out in Morro Bay. We're going to be going to those city councils and saying, hey, here's an initiative on the ballot that wants to ban new oil wells in the county. We want the city council to agendize this initiative. We'd like to have public discussion about it here, and we'd like the city council to take a stand on it. Are you for this, or are you against it? And that's another way of getting discussion and information out there. And we will definitely be talking to them about we want to see them support this initiative. And if they don't, well, then they don't. But they will, as a public servant, as a politician, as a representative of the public, they will at least be given the responsibility, the opportunity, and the accountability to take a position on it. So let us see where you stand on it. And we'll go to the Board of Supervisors as well. But just a footnote here, the Board of Supervisors aren't involved in this. And because we'll get questions from people, well, if this passes, then what is the Board of Supervisors going to do? And that's one of the reasons that we're doing an initiative. So let me say a little bit about a citizens initiative and what that means. And part of this comes out of the work I did over the previous 3 years in trying to defeat the project of the Phillips 66 crude oil train terminal they wanted to build at their refinery, like I said, 2 miles south of here. Their plan was to create a railroad yard there where they could bring in 1.5 mile long oil trains that were carrying Alberta, Canada tar sands imported from Alberta all the way across the United States into California, down the UP line, Union Pacific line, or up the Union Pacific line, down along our coast, through the Elkhorn Slough, through hundreds of sensitive habitats, and offload it down here and refine it. Send it up to their Oakland refinery, finish it, and then ship it off to Asia and India. And we did not want that risk. We all know, most people know the dangers of oil trains, and we were fortunate. We defeated it, but it was the only way we were able to defeat it was Phillips 66 needed a building permit from the county. And in order to get that, they had to go through the Planning Commission, the Board of... Wait for the plane to shoot by there. Yeah. Buzzing the Oceano Airport here.
Yeah.
So they had to go through our county permitting process. So that meant we needed to mobilize people to come to meeting after meeting after meeting of the Planning Commission. They had to do a big environmental impact report. We provided, hundreds of pages of comments on that environmental impact report. And so that was a long, drawn-out process. And it was big work for everybody. I mean, literally, volunteers spent 10,000 hours on this thing. I mean, preparing for meetings, setting in meetings. And at each phase, we won by one vote. I mean, with all of that energy, and with 13 negative environmental impacts, significant environmental impacts of this project, we still only won by one vote. We won. We're happy for that. But when we were looking at this, the threat of fracking, the threat of the expansion of the Arroyo Grande oil field, where state agencies have already given the oil field permission to expand. They're only waiting right now for an exemption from the Environmental Protection Agency that will say, okay, you can go ahead and continue to inject your waste products into a drinking water aquifer. So,
backwards land.
So we decided, you know what, we're not going to go to the Board of Supervisors. Right now we have a 3-2 majority of people who are pretty pro-oil. The state agencies haven't supported us. In fact, Jerry Brown hasn't supported us. I mean, he's been one of the biggest proponents of fracking and really kind of broke the whole thing loose a few years ago. So in California, we have a citizens initiative process, which is abused tremendously by big corporations who hire people to go out with and get signatures on a petition for their own special interests. As I said, we're all volunteers. Nobody got paid to get those signatures. And what we do with a citizens initiative is our first stage was we hired a law firm, the best law firm in the United States, to draft an initiative of the type that we're looking for, which is to ban new oil development. And what we did was we created new laws for the county general plan, for its land use policy, that outlaws new oil development in the county. So what we did was we said, what laws do we want to have here in the county? What do we want to live by? Okay, let's draw those up in a legal fashion. Let's put it into an initiative. Let's take it out to the people, see if we can get enough signatures of people who say we want that on the ballot. We did. And now it's going to be on the ballot, and now we can have a huge discussion across San Luis Obispo County, and the citizens of San Luis Obispo County are going to decide what they want for their future. So once we get this passed and we have these new laws on the books, the supervisors have a job, and that job is to enforce those laws. They don't have any, it's not like they're going to go like, we're going to vote 3-2 and kick this out. No, it's the law of the land. And the only way that law is going to be changed is if a majority of people vote to get rid of it. Now, the citizens of San Luis Obispo County did this in 1986. It was around oil, and it was about offshore oil development. This is when maybe it was, I can't remember what president it was in then, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, so they opened up federal oil leases off the coast. And they were down off Santa Maria, up here off San Luis Obispo. And what the citizens of San Luis Obispo did was they did a citizens initiative, and the citizens of San Luis Obispo County have absolutely no control over offshore oil leases. Nobody does. The federal government, if you're out past 3 miles, the federal government controls that. The first 3 miles, the state controls. Counties don't have any control. What we do control, though, is what is built on our land in the county. And so these citizens drew up an initiative that said there will be no buildings, constructions, pumping stations, pipelines, or anything built on our county to support offshore oil development. And the only way that's going to happen is if an oil company comes in and proposes a development, and then it has to be put to a vote of the people. Now, I think they probably did that for political reasons because it made it a little easier. Maybe they thought to sell it. We don't have that provision in ours. Once we ban new oil wells, that's it. That law's not going to be changed. If anytime somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to drill a well, and then we have to put it up to a vote of the people, no. The law is no, you don't drill more wells. But so in 1986, they had that initiative. It was passed overwhelmingly. Within, I think it was a year and a half, Shell Oil came in with 3 new projects to build onshore infrastructure to support offshore oil development in federal waters. And all 3 of those were voted down, again, by the citizens of San Luis Obispo. Now, that was 1986. That was, that was a long time ago. The demographics of San Luis Obispo have changed. We have a lot more people here now, and we have, I think the county's always been, probably a kind of, moderate to conservative, but in the last, 10, 15 years, we've had a lot of migration from the valley. People retiring here, I think, tend to be a little more conservative. So it's a little different political landscape. But look at, we got 20,000 signatures of registered voters to qualify our initiative. When you go in and talk to people and you go, 20,000 people signed our initiative, they stand up and they pay attention to it. Because that is, it isn't like we just squeaked by, we had 100 to spare. Right. No. Yeah, we've got a lot of people. 3 times,
yeah, which speaks volumes. So how does a person get a hold of you in all the different ways? Okay, well, the main way to get hold of us is through our website, which is, again, protectslocounty.org. And our website is, and on that website we have, our contact information, we have our post office box, we have an email, and we have a phone number. And so you send us an email, you give us a call, we'll be back to you within 24 hours. So that's a good way to get in contact with us. We have monthly meetings in San Luis Obispo. Those are all on our website. Everybody's welcome to come to those meetings. We will be, right now, we're all just, we turn those petitions in on May 1st, May Day, and the county has 30 days to do their legal review and validation of it, and then make their pronouncement that indeed this qualifies for the ballot. They'll give us an official, it'll be measure something, A, B, C, D, E, F. We asked for a certain number, but they said, no, we just go in alphabetical order, so I'm not sure what it's going to end up with. And so we've been working really hard. We gathered all of those all those signatures in 9 weeks. And so we're all kind of taking a break and
And definitely, you know, some of us, kind of our core group, we're talking among each other, and we're going to start meeting pretty soon in terms of developing our, you know, fleshing out the plans that I was talking to you about. And of course, you know, fundraising is going to be an important part of it. In Monterey County, where they had a measure similar to ours almost 3 years ago, it was called Measure Z, and it banned new oil wells and fracking and other extreme oil extraction processes, and also phased out existing oil. And we're not phasing out existing oil, and so we're standing on their shoulders, and our initiative is it's better in many ways. And our county is also a different county than Monterey. Our county has, in our general plan and in our land use policies and in our climate action plans, we say that we want to be a county that is moving from fossil fuels into renewables. We want to be a county that's reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, that's reducing our carbon footprint. We're a county that wants to look at alternative energy development, move away from fossil fuels. So this initiative is not like just coming in on like, whoa, this is like just off the wall weird stuff. No, this is right in sync with what we have in our official county general plan, land use policies. This just codifies it in a very specific, there will not be any more oil extraction in San Luis Obispo County. No new stuff. Let Price Canyon, they say they have 25 years of reserves left. Let them operate that place safely, moderately, keep people employed there for the next 25 years rather than this huge expansion, sucking it all up so they can quickly make their millions. That's what's going on right now. We have a big oil rush in the United States, and it's by and large to export to the developing world, and especially to Asia. That's why there's so much pressure on the blue states out here on the coast, Washington, Oregon, and California, to build new terminals for coal, for liquefied natural gas, for crude oil. You know, there are people like us fighting it up and down the coast. We say we don't need more oil put into production. The oil that's already in production is it's already going to push us up over 2 degrees centigrade warming. And, you know, global climate change is not a matter of is it happening, it's like how bad is it going to get. We are, so, you know, locally, it's really protecting our water resources, and also, you know, protecting our air quality some from expansion with more greenhouse gases. On a national, kind of international level, it's reducing the amount of carbon dioxide going into the air. And in the long range, it's really about, you know, saving the earth, or at least saving the atmosphere, saving it so that humans can still, you know, thrive in some ways in a balance and in a relationship with nature that is more nurturing each other, as opposed to us, well, pretty much ending up our spree of, you know, burning fossil fuel that took 300 to 400 million years to make, to take all that carbon out of the atmosphere and sequester it into oil and everything else, and we've burned it in 100 years. And we wonder, like, well, is that going to change the atmosphere? I mean, I don't think folks really appreciate that, you know, our species couldn't evolve until enough carbon came out of the atmosphere and was replaced with oxygen that, you know, we could grow as a species. And I'm not saying that we're going to reverse that where, you know, humans can't survive, but with 7 billion people climate change is going to be impacting things very profoundly. So what we can do to lessen that, to dial it back, and it doesn't take a lot. You know, we're just coming out of about a 3-year period where carbon emissions leveled out. Yeah, they actually leveled out. I mean, you know, they've been going up, and then they leveled out, and the reason they leveled out was that the United States and China stopped burning so much coal to produce electricity. Those two giant users of fossil fuels, they started conserving. Obama's Clean Air Plan, China finally addressing the massive consequences of coal-fired electric generating plant pollution and the profound health issues on its population. That leveled off carbon. And that was one of the most optimistic environmental statistics I'd heard in quite a few years, that these two countries cutting back some. It wasn't like they cut it out totally, but just dialing it down. Whoa, carbon level off. And I thought, what if we really got serious about this? We could start really dropping this back down, and that's what we need to do. And so that's where the whole notion of keeping existing carbon supplies in the ground.
Yeah, and use other sources.
Right. I mean, so what's wrong? You know, we have our values in the Coalition to Protect San Luis Obispo County are really, in some core ways, fundamentally conservative values. If you think of the root of the word conservative, it's conserve.
Right.
So we're talking about, we want to conserve our water. We want to protect our water for ourselves and for our kids and for our grandkids. I'm a grandfather. I'm working with, you know, other grandparents. There's a lot of us baby boomers in this. There's younger families. Natalie Reisner, who's co-chair with me of the coalition, is, you know, a young mom with, you know, 2 children and her family, and she wants to do what she can to you know, keep these resources available. I mean, clean water versus a few more barrels of oil that we get no benefit out of, really. I mean, there's some jobs out there, but, you know, it's like the world is not a place where we need more oil. The only reason there's this glut going on is because it's making billions of dollars for big corporations.
That's good stuff. Well, listen, here at Radical Wellness, we talk about loving life, and life will love you back. So thank you very much, Charles. That was a lot of information, and we'll keep on keeping on.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Bye-bye.
Okay.